A critical element of this COP26 in Glasgow is the issue of lasting change, not just because of COVID, but particularly because of the climate emergency. How you create large-scale change with lasting impact. And we're joined by the new president and CEO of the World Resources Institute, centered in Washington, D.C. They have 7 platforms: cities, climate, energy, food, forest, ocean, and water. That is their focus. How are they seeing what is happening here, what they're learning, and what the challenges are? Not maybe for 100 years, but 10 years or even 10 months. I'm joined by Ani Dasgupta, who is the new president and CEO, but you have been working for the WRI for the last 7 years, focusing on cities, Ani.
That's right.
What is your reflection on what you're hearing here about the urgency and the pressure for change and the imperatives?
I hear 2 things that is extremely resonant. So one, in WRI, we believe in systems. That's why the things you read out, the 7 things, we think they interact together to the change that is required. What I'm seeing here, today is Nature Day. We wouldn't have, 3 years back, we wouldn't have imagined Nature Day in COP, because people are not just thinking about carbon reduction, but how the whole system can work, how nature can work, how do we actually adapt. So I'm very encouraged that how this whole discussion has become beyond carbon to how the whole system works, how it's good for economy, your business everywhere here this time, and how is it good for people. So it's a very systems approach to it, so I'm encouraged by it. I also must say, I am myself, and I hope I can bring WRI along with me in there, and very much excited, is all these commitments from countries that you've been hearing, companies, 1,800 companies signed up to SBTi, cities, 100,000 cities have signed up to Race to Zero. How do we help them go from commitment to results? How does this transition work? It's not transition one thing, not decom. How does transport work, energy work, people? So this is the systemic approach to getting the transition right and making it good for people, getting equity in the middle of that is what we want to be doing. And we want to be partners.
How do you mobilize people? How do you energize people? How do you not force them, but encourage them to think differently for systems change?
Our view has been to do 2 things. Is A, to get the best science, so we're not just running around doing things, to get the best science in place, best people in the world. So we run one platform or another with multiple organizations to know what to do. But then, combined with, we have offices in 12 countries, most of our people in the countries, is actually experiment on the ground on solutions with that science. See what will work in India, what will work in Jakarta, what will work in Kenya. Learn from that, combine that together, show people things can change, and get the politics behind it, get the leaders behind it. That's the way we've been working, and all the things that you see we do is we bring private sector, NGOs, but political leaders together to bring the change so that we demonstrate that it can be done.
How do you create urgency, given the enormity of the scientific warnings about what is happening? Are you detecting here in Glasgow that there is a real feeling of what the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said on the first day is of a looming catastrophe, and zone red for what is coming? Is that something that now permeates directly into your work?
Oh, it absolutely does. And that's why I think we in WRI, we have been very successful the last 5 years in where we are. But the next step for WRI has to be reacting direct to the urgency. And I feel what we need to do is to find results on the ground so that urgency is not scaring people, but taking people to action. You know, urgency or the science is pretty scary right now. And the science is absolutely clear what needs to be done.
Well, it's existential for us on our planet.
Absolutely, as humans. I mean, we should all be very, very worried, not just for ourselves, for our children, that if we don't get to 2030, the science is increasingly telling us. I don't think we have to think about science anymore, because the science has been clear for a while. The last IPCC report, it couldn't be more clear. The question is, how do we get there? We at WRI absolutely think there is a path, a narrow path, and we have to make systematic decisions in the narrow path. This is what we want to do. Help government, business, cities find those solutions. They're not 1,000 solutions. They're few solutions that give us the outcome we want. Decarbonizing the world, making the solution good for people, and making the solution good for nature. These 3 things have to work together. It's not easy to do in a countries that are capacity constrained and resource constrained. So that is, I feel, not only WRI, I think our whole community's job is to make those solutions work.
What was your personal feeling about the commitment by Narendra Modi for India, 2070, not 2050? Saudi Arabia 2060, mirroring what the Chinese, the People's Republic of China, has done. The feeling that it's still somewhere over the horizon, that it's not an immediate threat.
Let me just take India, because I'm Indian, I come from India. I think the announcement has been received very positively.
It's a long way away.
Yes. I personally think it's good that there is an announcement. Till that happened, we didn't know. My own judgment, given what has happened in India, just on renewables, that number, the 2070, is going to get reduced as we go forward. India is doing a lot of good things in renewable. I think it needs to do more. And I think with encouragement and support, the 2070 number is going to come closer to what we want, 2050. I honestly feel positive about it. I think these countries with other countries, this idea of this particular COP, any COP actually, is to actually encourage each other, believe, trust each other, and that is what COP needs to deliver, trust among countries. The fact that we didn't have 100 billion to start with this COP was a damper to poorer countries, to damper developing countries. I hope we can recover. A lot of good things have happened since then, this first few days.
One final thought, if I may, Ani. Food. Given the way food is produced and how wasteful a lot of it is and how much of it is wasted, plus the methane problem, plus the meat problem, or challenge I should put, it has, where do you think this is now moving? Do you think there will be significant changes in food simply because of the way in which food is being produced, the way it's being wasted, the way it's being shipped, and also the fact that a lot of people don't have enough food?
That's absolutely a terrific question. Thank you. First of all, I think there's progress. The methane pledge was absolute progress. 107 countries have signed up to it so far. Food is a topic in the COP, wasn't. There's a food summit. So there's a recognition of food being important to climate. There's no 1.5 degree world without sustainable food. 30% of emissions come from food production in the world, 30%. So, we talk about energy. We have a slogan, no coal. We don't have something like that in food. We need to have that in food. And the other thing is, there is I think 1 billion people who need better quality nutrition out of the 1 billion people. So it's not just we need to reduce a figure. We actually have to increase production, increase this without consuming more land. Because consuming more land takes away forests. It's absolutely clear evidence. So the food system, how we eat, what we eat, and make sure everyone gets the protein they need, everyone in the world. How we produce agriculture, so it's more productive land and we don't take up more land. How we restore lands we destroyed, and how we protect. That's the best thing we can do. Protect the forests we already have as a carbon sink. So this system in WRI, we're going to bring these systems together and create tools so people across the world can actually work through the system to a positive outcome. So there's no question. I think there's progress, to be honest, and a lot more needs to happen in the focus of food. It's an existential crisis, right? You have to produce more food for people 9 billion people have to be fed. You can't just choose not to feed them, but you have to feed them inside the planetary boundary. So thank you for asking that. I think the food is going to be, I hope the next COP focuses on food. The one we haven't had in Egypt, I think.
And quickly, if you can, is this blah, 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 to quote Greta Thunberg, or is there something happening here which is really seismic in terms of the future of the planet?
I actually don't think it's blah, blah. I think people are really trying to do something that they believe in. They want to put that together. A lot of things are happening that's positive. There is something here, I have to agree, that we are not doing fast enough. Us adults are not doing it fast enough. Even now, as you know very well, this discussion that we're having here for the last week and the week next week is not going to add to 1.5 degrees. The science says we have to get to 1.5. Our science says it is possible. Yeah, we have to stretch. Even if the G20 country, I'm talking about the richest country, not of the poorest countries. The science says that if each of the G20 countries committed to 1.5, committed to net zero by 2050 and implemented what needs to be done by 2030, we can get to 1.7. So the thing is, it is doable. It is stretch goal. It is doable. So when the younger generation tells us that we are not doing enough, I think they're right. But here, I think people are trying.
Ani Dasgupta, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Good luck
Thank
with
you
your
so
new
much.
mission
Thanks for
at
having me.
World Resources Institute.